Hello. Welcome to the channel. Thanks so much for being here. We're going to jump right into it because we are late. And by we, I mean me. My apologies. Let's look at converting our sphere of influence. Sparkling water, don't get ideas. Converting our sphere of influence the right way. So one of the things that's very important to realize about your sphere of influence is that the top producers that we aspire to become, that we aspire to be, the ones that you're seeing hit all the real trends, top like actual production numbers, their bedrock of business is from sphere of influence. Yes, there's going to be people that are crushing it on YouTube, people that are crushing it with Facebook ads, people that are crushing it with all types of other strategies, but the bedrock of their business is through sphere of influence. So if you're ignoring your sphere of influence and have never reached out to that cousin, never reached out to that past coworker to pursue business or get a referral from them, you're missing 8 to 12 transactions per year. That's important to recognize. Your sphere of influence is it's an absolute monster that we cannot forget, cannot ignore any longer. So let's go into how to actually spend less than 10 minutes per day in order to capture those 8 to 12 transactions per year. Let's get into it right now. Now, definitions matter, as we know. So converting your sphere of influence, who is your SOI? It's people that already know you, people that already trust you, people that already like you. These are individuals that, in sales terms, these are laydowns. These are people that are going to work with you if you just ask, if they know that you're in real estate. So these are your friends, this is your family, this is past coworkers, past clients, coworkers, neighbors, social media contact. So here's the test that was given to me. When it comes to really determining who is your sphere of influence, just think of it this way. If you saw that individual at the grocery store and you felt compelled, obligated, almost forced to go and say hi to that individual in the grocery store, that's probably somebody that should be on your sphere of influence. They have, you have a level of influence over, or that you have a level of influence with them. I shouldn't say you have over them. So your sphere of influence is that. So again, if you see somebody at the chips aisle or whatever aisle, the dairy aisle, whatever it happens to be, and if you feel obligated, go and say hi, that's probably somebody that should fit on your sphere of influence. Somebody that you can reach out to systematically, and that's what we're going to cover today, how to actually systematically use this system to convert sphere of influence clients, to convert your SOI, so we're closing 8 to 12 transactions per year. That's what we should be aspiring to. So one quick little stat that might help us get into the sphere of influence spirit before we go into the tactical component. Understand that, let's talk about buyers for a quick second. Understand that most buyers, about 70% of buyers, so it's a little bit over 60%, so 60 to 70% of the buyers that are out there buying real estate right now go with the first and only real estate agent that they speak with. Meaning that if you have 100 of people that are in your sphere of influence, almost 70% of them are going to go with the first person that they see. An only person. So they're not going to shop you around, right? So if you're brand new to the industry, hallelujah, praise the Lord. That is huge for us, right? So we just have to exist and have a license at that point. We don't have to be good. We just have to be known that we are in real estate, right? So that's a huge hack. And it's a huge reliever, right? So it really helps us get into the SOI spirit. Now, as you're coming in, a like is going to go a long way. It's going to really help us get into this content. Now, here is our yearly SOI schedule. I'm going to go into yearly, then I'm going to back up into our monthly system that takes less than 10 minutes to deploy. So what is our yearly SOI system? So I need to activate this here for a quick second, or I really need to put some context around this. Traditionally, the way that SOI, or reaching out to your SOI list, was invented, this was years and years and years ago, was, let's talk about real estate because that's what we're talking about right now. It was from either a sales coach or a real estate broker or real estate team. When a brand new agent walked into the office and asked, hey, how do I be successful in real estate? Well, the traditional advice was get a piece of paper, write down as many people as you possibly can, and reach out to them, right? People that you know. This can be, again, going back to your sphere of influence here, your friends, family, past coworkers, anybody that you know, anybody that on the face of this planet that you happen to have met at some point in time. Write their name down and find their contact information. Back then it was the yellow pages. was it white pages, right? Because that's residential, yellow was commercial. I think it was like that. So you had those types of pages where people's information was readily available there, and you would call them. That was back in the day. So the day of you writing people's name down and then calling them, and that be the only modality of reaching out to that past coworker, that past person that you knew back in high school, those days are gone. That's not the only way to communicate these days. We understand that texting exists now. We understand that social media is a huge thing, that we get our news from social media at this point, far beyond the ABCs of the world, the Foxes of the world, the CNNs of the world. We understand that the medium has changed. Why do I go through that long explanation? Well, because the way that you've been taught to reach out to your sphere of influence is an antiquated way that it's no longer working. Why? Well, when's the last time that you picked up a phone number that you don't know? Now, we're in real estate, so we are even more incentivized to do that, because at any point in time, it could be a client. But people that are not in sales, people that are working in a 9-to-5, people that are in our sphere of influence, they're ignoring every call that they don't have a phone number registered to. Right? So even if we wanted to call every single person in our sphere of influence every single month, that's just not a reality. That's not the way that people are communicating right now. I say all of that to say is that's where this system that was developed for our sphere of influence came from. We're not calling our sphere of influence every single month, because again, the modality, the way of reaching out to people has changed. And beyond that, if you go to the second thing, a lot of reason that you have such an abandonment of this strategy, meaning a lot of people stop following up with their sphere of influence, is because they think that calling is the only way. And by the time they call for the third time, the third month in a row, it becomes awkward. You know, at this point, like, I don't have so many things to talk about, so I'm just going to say, just checking in. It's like, all right, well, do you want anything, Jaime? No, I'm just checking in. Right? It just becomes awkward, especially for us introverts. And when we feel a little bit of friction, when we feel a little bit of overwhelm, we feel a bit afraid, like when we feel dumb, if we're honest, we're going to stop doing that. That's why so many people will start work in their sphere of influence, because we're super excited and we see that we just spent $2,000 to get our real estate license. Well, now here we are trying to make money from this real estate license. And again, we lose our motivation by month 2, by month 3. So this is where, again, our system comes into play. So what does our SOI actually look like? So what does our follow-up actually look like? Well, at the bedrock, at the bare minimum, your price to be a real estate agent should involve you sending at least one email to your sphere of influence per month. I'll say that again. Your price of admission to your sphere of influence is reaching out to your SOI one time per month. That is minimum through email. So a monthly email. You can call it a newsletter. That would be my preferred way for you to actually go around marketing it. You could call it, ours as an example, is called the DFW Homeowner Digest. So DFW Homeowner, that's our production team, which our information is linked down below if you're looking for a team that actually provides leads, has ISAs on the background that books appointments for you, and helps you grow your business every single day. If that's you, if that sounds like something you could benefit from here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, our production team is down below. If you want to join our expansion network, our expansion group across the country, in multiple countries at this point, the Agent First group, our information is down below as well. But again, monthly bare minimum is we need to send out an email. That's the bedrock. Now, we actually have a weekly one now. So we've gone to weekly. We're sending 52 emails per year at this point to our sphere of influence and actually all of our active leads. All right, so price of admission is a monthly email, bare minimum. Now, here's where we start gaining traction. Here's where we start amplifying and leveraging our time. So the system we work, it's not quarterly, it's what would be 4 of the months, I guess. Every 4 months, we cycle through this system. So in the month of January, we're DMing all of our people in our sphere of influence. So we dedicate the entire month, and I'll show you how to actually do this daily, so you're not spending more than 10 minutes a day. The entire month of January, we're DMing our people. We're DMing our sphere of influence. The entire month of February, we're calling our sphere of influence. Now, although we are not as leveraged on the phone, in other words, we're not calling every single month, we do understand that really with phone, That is an amplifier. That's where sales are going to happen. So we do make an actual call. That's the second thing that we do. Or in February, we're calling all of our sphere of influence. The third month, we're texting. So there we're texting. So in this particular case, you're going to see that in March, we're texting. So everybody in our sphere of influence, we're sending them a text, right? And then month number 4, we're sending direct mail. Now, direct mail can be one of two ways. You can automate it where you have all of your roster uploaded to a Vistaprint or any other mailing service that you want to actually fulfill the order, and press enter and you're done with your follow-up. Or you can do this manually. Once again, you're going to be spending less than 10 minutes per day. So this actually helps you as well. Now, I'll tie everything back in here shortly. I just want to make sure that we lay it all out. Now, the optional month, that becomes May 5th. I'm sorry, not May 5th. In the month of May, the optional is for every 5 months. In other words, every 5 months, you're throwing an event. So this becomes either you're throwing an event or doing drop-bys or having coffee with the people in your sphere of influence. There's some sort of investment that you're making every 5 months. Now, typically, the reason I make this month optional is because typically this is better done as you build and have a referral base, as you have more and more past clients. In other words, as you are further on in your real estate career. So there, it becomes a little bit more challenging to do this, mostly because of the cost. It becomes cost prohibitive unless you're doing 25 transactions or more per year. So again, month 5, where you're reaching out either in person, where you're reaching out in person, whether that's through throwing events, doing drop-bys, doing one-on-one meetings at coffee shops, it becomes quite costly. As you continue to progress in your real estate career, it's something that you can invest in. So that's why I make this optional. This 5th month is optional. But for most agents that go through this system, you're going to go cycle once again. So in May, it's going to be DMing. And then after May is June, so you're going to be calling. And then after June is July, so you're going to be texting. So you cycle this over again. So it's DM, call, text, mail. DM, call, text, mail. That is the system that we have been deploying for years and years over and over again. And again, if you're working it this way, you are going to be reaching out to your sphere of influence very systematically in a way that they're not going to be feeling like, oh, every time Jaime calls, it's always to ask for business. I'm just not going to pick up the phone, right? So how many of us feel that that's what's happening to us, right? How many times do we feel that we're getting sent over to voicemail? More than we would care to admit. All right, so this is the follow-up system that happens yearly. Now, one of the things that I keep saying is it shouldn't be taking you longer than 10 minutes to reach out to your sphere of influence. And that's because that's the truth. How is that accomplished? Well, the monthly schedule that you're going to follow is based off of breaking it up in chunks. So breaking up your sphere of influence. So if you have 100 people in your sphere of influence, you're not reaching out to all 100 people in one day. That is something that's going to avoid you actually following through. We're going to break this down, and we're going to break down those 100 people into something manageable. We're going to break it up into 26 different parts. We're going to use the first letter of the last name as the touch point. So essentially, you're going to follow up with your contacts each month based off of the first letter of their last name, using the letter's position in the alphabet as the day of the month you reach out. So remember, this is your monthly schedule. So if we are going to be reaching out to people, this is probably a bad example. What's today, the 27th? Yeah. So today we are actually not reaching out to our sphere of influence because there's 26 letters in the alphabet. And that means that Z is the 26th letter in the alphabet, and that would be us reaching out to everybody with the last name of Z, all the Zambranos as an example. We would have reached out to them yesterday, which is the 26th. So as an example, if one of your people in your SOI, their last name is Edwards, so E is the 5th day of the month. Why? Well, because E is the 5th letter in the alphabet, right? So if the last name is Johnson, as an example, well, J is the 10th letter in the alphabet. It means that this individual we're going to reach out to on the 10th day of the month. So essentially, the letter in the position of the alphabet is directly connected to the day of the month. As an example, my last name is Resendiz. R happens to be the 18th letter in the alphabet. That means that on the 18th of the month, I'm reaching out to myself or people with the last name of R. That way, you're taking the 100 people that are in your sphere of influence and you're breaking down into 26 different days, into 26 different opportunities to reach out to your SOI. Is this making sense? Hopefully this is making sense. This is, if you're working it this way, you're spending no more than 10 minutes a day reaching out to your sphere of influence. Now, what you send to them, that is something that we're going to cover in another video, in another live stream, to give you the talking points to have. But first, we need to understand what this system is all about. First, we need to understand how we're going to reach out to the individuals to begin with. And if you approach it this way, you're going to be converting lead after lead after lead. No longer are you going to see a cousin at the title company closing with another real estate agent right next to them. This prevents that. This will actually get you in front of those. Remember, those 70% of the people that are going to go with you just for simply having a real estate license. This is gonna ensure that you're in front of them. So as a quick recap, you have every month you're going to be sending out at least one email. So every month they're going to need to hear from you via email. And then on top of that, you're either going to be texting them. You're either going to be DMing them. You're either going to be calling them. You're going to be texting them. You're going to be doing direct mail. And if your business is large enough and are able to invest in events and more one-on-one touch points, then there we are talking about in-person appearances, if you will, where you're dropping by, inviting to Starbucks, throwing photo shoots for families, or throwing an event of some kind. So your past clients can come over, your sphere of influence can come over and invite a friend, right? If you follow this system, once again, you are going to be working your sphere of influence so purposefully. You're going to be converting 8 to 12 transactions from your SOI alone very systematically without having to spend, again, this is more of this can be the largest investment, without needing to spend $1 billion in ads to try to get this conversion. So go out there, employ this strategy, deploy this strategy. And this works best if you have a CRM already, or if you are using a spreadsheet, that also works well as well. But it's really contingent on following this schedule here: the DMing, calling, texting, direct mailing, and then also spending the time daily to reach out to your sphere of influence so you don't miss an opportunity. Well, that is all we had for today. This is a system that's converting people at scale. This is a system that's absolutely amplifying the way that real estate agents are doing business. Let me say that again. Top real estate agents are deploying their business. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Comment down below SOI if you made it to the end of this video. Outside of that, see you on the next one.